All right. Is everybody ready for a bit of a rant? Cause ooh, baby. And then, Ryan, in particular, I want to make sure you're watching for this because I got a special transition just for you. You are here. Okay. I hope you guys are ready. Give me that rant. Because it's time for Headphone Highlight. Hey! Here we go. Yeah. It's not much, but oh, I'm so proud. Today we're going to have a little chat about Beyerdynamic. These here are the Beyerdynamic, these are the 990s, DT990s. They're a, we're still in the same category as before. These are a dynamic headphone. Will they say they're open or are they semi-open? They're pretty open. I'm gonna say they're open. So Beyerdynamic, if you're not familiar, are a really big brand. Well, I guess I should probably show them off a little bit first before we get too much into this. So here's what they look like. Oh my gosh, stop focusing on me. Focus on the headphones, my man. The DT990s. They look pretty cool. Pretty slick. Right there, Beyerdynamic. You accidentally controlled W'd? Yeah, they look pretty nice. Before I get into it, so Beyerdynamic, if you're not familiar with the name, they're a major brand when it comes to audio in general, but even more so with headphones. They are as synonymous with headphones as Sennheiser is, right? They're up there that much. Very, very well known, very, very well respected. In fact, the audio engineering, like music engineering, music mixing and audio engineering professionals, a lot of them use Beyerdynamic headphones. Beyer audio and headaches? You might be onto something. Back this up just a little bit. So, yeah, they're really, really well known in the industry as an industry standard for audio professionals. There's a bunch of different lines, and they all vary in where they sit in the marketplace and how they are intended to be used. But in general, the DT series of headphones is marketed as a audio professional headphone. Professional studio, they're called studio monitors. So that's another term you might hear here and there. Studio monitoring headphones. It can get a little confusing because studio monitors are usually speakers. Just another term for speakers is monitors, because they monitor the sound. If they're studio grade speakers, they're meant for referencing professional audio. They are monitoring that audio. They are studio monitors. So these are studio headphones for moderate. It's hard to say. Audio and aspirin, I mean. Yeah. Anyway, very, very well respected brand. Been around for a long time. Made in Germany, so they got that German engineering. And it's a huge, huge company. They got a crap ton of money, okay? So they could be doing whatever they want, but they're choosing to do this, okay? Beyer? Yeah, Beyer is something totally different. Beyerdynamic. No relation to Beyer. It's its own thing. So yeah. Studio headphones. Industry standard. A lot of people use these. A lot of people swear by these. The Germans. Thanks headphones for the Fatherland. I'm terrible with this accent. I'm sorry. So there's kind of like your general understanding of Beyer. They are at least as big as Sennheiser, okay? They're really, really big. So these headphones, the 990s, DT990s, let's talk about their construction a little bit. They're kind of a mixture of some hard plastic and some metal. The headband is not great. It's pretty basic. It's got a tiny bit of padding here, but it's not terribly uncomfortable. In terms of Lady Marslander's cloud system of comfort, I would put these at a 7. So the problem with the comfort on these and the models in general of this body shape is they're very, very round, right? Like if you look at the ear cups here, they're completely round. They're a circular cup. Nothing particularly unusual about that. However, they're kind of small, if I'm being honest. I can almost fit 3 knuckles. It's like a 2.5 knuckle wide space in the cups. But because they're so perfectly round, you're, at least for me, I have kind of big ears, I suppose, but for me, my ears don't really fit inside very well, inside of that comfort area. So what's happening for me is, you know, here's my ear, here is the foam padding, and it's kind of hitting right at the tips, the very tip top of my ear and the very bottom of my earlobe. So it's it feels a little funky. It doesn't feel particularly like, I can't really find a place where it feels like, oh yeah, that's the way you need to wear it. That's where it's comfortable. They're a little bit more like, you gotta deal with it. So I don't think they're, I don't know. I mean, they're not necessarily less comfortable than the Sennheisers, but like they still got a pretty decent amount of clamp, as you can see. They are touching at the bottom here, though the force to separate them is not quite as it doesn't require as much force as it does with the Sennheisers, and the cups do pivot, so that does help. They pivot up and down. They don't really pivot this way, though the construction's a little flimsy, so it kind of lets that work a little bit, but it's not, it's kind of, I don't know if you can hear that, but so that's my problem with the construction of these, is almost entirely the headband and the choice for this weird rounding ear cup that just doesn't quite fit. That's kind of a design flaw. If it's not going around the ear, it's not good. Yeah, I mean, if it's gonna be an over ear, not on ear, an over ear headphone, it should go around your ears. The Sennheisers are really good about that because they have that more oval shaped. I'll get to that. I'll get to what I like about them. The Sennheisers have that more oval shaped cup, so that's a bit more natural around your ear. Problem with the Sennheisers is because it has that oval shape, the very like tip of the oval can tend to pressure right on your jaw. That could be uncomfortable. So with these, for me, they just don't really fit, and that sucks. But the headband, I would say I have a bigger problem with, because I can't explain it to you, but it feels like it's gonna break. This piece right here, this plastic piece, feels like it is gonna just break. It feels so cheap and light and flimsy, and this is metal, and the way that this thing adjusts, this metal goes up through this little clampy into the headband. And I've had already before where, like, I did something a little funky, just, I don't know, messing with it a little bit, and I got it to go in, and I could not get it to come back out, and I felt like I was going to just snap the damn thing. So I'm not a fan of the headband on this. I think the headband's really cheap, which is silly because these are not cheap headphones. And they're supposed to be industry standard. And they're supposed to be professional. And now we're going to get into the biggest problem with these. Last time I talked about the importance of being able to replace your cable, right? Because a lot of headphones come with cables that aren't very good. They're functional, but you might not need the amount of length that they come with. You might not like how they feel, whatever. So it's beneficial. It's a bigger selling point if a headphone has a cable that is easy to find and replace with something else. But now we're going to get into something even more important. When you have an expensive piece of hardware of any kind, but we're going to talk about our headphone here. We got our studio grade audiophile headphone. We paid a good chunk of money for it. It is supposed to be an industry standard professional tool. What happens when this supposed, well-engineered, well-refined, well-built and well-respected device has its permanently attached cable fail on it? What happens to your entire headphone when the cable fails? If anything were to happen to this permanently attached cable, it will never come off. What's going to happen to the entire headphone? Any guesses? Garbage. This little, $1.50 to produce cable, if anything happens to this, if it gets crunched or bent or burnt or just worn out, the whole entire headphone is junk. That is absurd. And Beyerdynamic doesn't do that with just these headphones. They do that with every headphone they have in this line. They do it with the 700 series, with the 800 series, and with these 900 series. They have permanently attached cables. You can never remove them. If anything were to happen to those cables, your headphones are garbage. Not to mention, because you're stuck with a permanently attached headphone, it means that you are stuck with whatever length that permanently attached cable is. And as I was arguing before, I only need like a 6 to 8 foot long cable to be comfortable. So when my permanently attached cable is 12 to 14 feet long, I have to have this monstrosity dragging on the floor. Just getting dusty and, being open to, my chair rolling over it and then ruining the cable, which will ruin the headphones. I mean, it's such an insane business move for something that's supposed to be the golden standard for audio professionals. Beyerdynamic is the golden standard, even more so than Sennheiser for most people. And yet they insist on this permanently attached garbage. They insist on it. They will never change it. Okay, some of their more higher end stuff, they learn their lesson. But for this, which is their highest selling range of headphones, the 700s, 800s, and 900s, permanently attached cable. You're stuck with it. Nothing you can do. Not unless you want to risk modding the headphone and doing so totally eliminating the warranty on them. Whatever that warranty may be. I don't know. I don't remember. So, very bad decision. Very bad. No headphone should ever, in general, should ever have an permanently attached cable, let alone one that's supposed to be not just a professional audio device, but a workhorse of a professional audio device. This is meant to, like, be thrown around and used with a permanently attached cable. Bad choice. But we're not done yet. Oh no, we aren't done yet. Because Beyerdynamic doesn't stop with the bad decisions, with the poor consumer relation decisions with the cable. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to remind you, these are the DT990s. Have a look at this. Hey, that's an interesting line of headphones. They have different looks, some different models. Interesting. Too bad they're all the same headphone. That's not me being hyperbolic. Every single one of these is a DT990. What's the difference, Matthew? What's the difference, Master Marslander? I don't know. No one really does. The marketing for this line of headphone is absolute bonkers. It's not different skins. It's not just different skins. All right? You have some different headbands. You have some different materials being used. But they're all the same headphone. All of these are the DT990s. But you have some that are called the DT990 Pro. Some that are called the DT990 Black. These are the blacks. DT990 Special. DT990 Premium. And they're all advertised so that they're not just an aesthetic difference, but that they're supposed to be an, like, I don't know, a difference in quality in them? A difference in the audio performance of them? There's not. They are identical. And you know, maybe you're thinking, oh, maybe they're just kind of replacements from different reiterations. You know, maybe these are older models and they changed it when they made newer models. Okay, maybe. But it is so hard to know which is the newest model. It's almost impossible. If someone says, I want to have a Beyerdynamic DT990, they don't know what they're getting into. Because you can't just go buy a DT990, you have to select which DT990 do you want. And it's not just with the 900s, no. It's the exact same with the 770s and the 880s. So there are 4 or 5 different versions of the 770s, 4 or 5 different versions of the 880s, and 4 or 5 different versions of the 990s. And the way that they are like branded and marketed on the box, it is so hard to know what's really different unless you go to the website and look up the actual specifications. And the pricing for these vary all over the place. It's so... The naming convention of this is so infuriating for me. Like, when I decided that... Well, these I actually... There's a bit of a story how I got these, but... If I decided I wanted to buy one of these, I would, like, give up. Because I don't know which one's the best. I don't know. I have no idea which is the best DT990 model here. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I don't know what the real difference is. And it would take me actual research time to be able to identify the specifics of the... So we have a very confusing naming convention going on here, okay? That's already bad. It gets worse. So, we're gonna get a little technical for this, but it's important. Headphones have something called impedance. Impedance refers to how the driver technology interacts with the current that is being fed to it. How much current it requires, how much current it's looking for and trying to pull in to perform the way it's intended to. Okay? And in very general terms, the way that impedance is measured is through something called ohms. The symbol for it is, like the omega symbol. And the general consensus is that anything that has an impedance of like 30 ohms or higher is considered a higher end headphone that would either benefit or require a amplification source, some sort of headphone amplifier, something beyond what your phone or your computer's built-in audio interface would have. Okay, basically meaning if you have a headphone that has 30 ohms or more, trying to listen to it with your phone, you're going to end up with a bad experience. It's not that it's not going to work. It will still produce sound, but that sound will be either really quiet and or very muffled. It just won't sound right. It'll sound weird. It'll sound off. It'll sound like it's just something's wrong. And that's because the headphones are tuned to expect a certain amount of current, a certain amount of power being driven to them to power the driver the way it's been tuned. Okay? So, the general consensus, this is very, very general, but the general consensus is the higher the impedance of a headphone, the more power that headphone can take to utilize, and it'll result in general, more detailed, more authentic, and more analytical sound. Okay? The more power a headphone can manage, then the more it is capable of, in very general terms. The problem, of course, is the higher your impedance, the more ohms, the more power that headphone's going to require. Okay? So herein comes another problem with Beyer. Every single one of these that you see on screen here, every model of the 990s, every model of the 880, and every model of the 770s, all of them come in varying impedance options. And there is, once again, almost no way to know what impedance that headphone you're holding in your hand in the box has without turning it around and looking in the very specific teeny tiny little statistic or oh my god, it's incredibly difficult to know without looking at the stats of the thing. My brain is melting right now. I think you know what I'm trying to say. So these, well, before I get to these, all of these come with around 30 ohms. Okay, so with a 30 ohm headphone, you could probably plug it into your computer, just into the jack. Specs, yes, thank you, the specs, the specifications. Without looking at the printed specifications in real detail and knowing what you're looking for and understanding what that means, you would have no way of knowing which headphone has what impedance and what that's going to mean for you. So you could end up buying either, let's say you're not an audio professional, you just hear that these are really good headphones, and you decide you're going to go out and buy a pair. Okay? You go out and you buy, hey, you go to Guitar Center, you go to the headphone aisle, and they have Beyerdynamic DT990s there on the shelf for you. Cool, great. You don't really care what version it is, right? It's just going to be a 990 anyway. So you take it, you go and you buy it, because to you it's a 990. What difference does it make? You're looking at the specs, there's lots of numbers, cool. You take it home, you plug it into your computer, nothing happens. And I don't mean like it is really, really quiet or it sounds kind of weird. I mean, either it sounds horrible or it is not doing anything. And that's because your DT990 that you bought isn't the version, isn't the 30 ohm version that might work on your computer. No, you bought the 600 ohm version, which requires so much power that unless you have a setup like what I have here with a dedicated headphone amplifier that puts out a tremendous amount of power, it will just be garbage. And then you, the consumer, would be like, what the hell? Why do people like these? These sound terrible, or they don't work. I'm never going to buy Beyerdynamic again. And why should you? Why would you want to? You don't know. You don't know what you're getting into because the branding and the marketing for this doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you. Let's say you go you're on the other side of the spectrum. Okay, you are an audio professional, and you want to get the highest ohm, highest impedance possible headphones for your crazy cool audio setup. Well, it is really, really, really easy to go to the audio store, pick up one of these, thinking that you got the version that you need, not knowing that they come in different impedance options, and then you get home to your audio system to do your professional sound mixing, you plug in your headphone thinking it's going to require a lot of power, so you put the amplifier on, you turn that volume up, you plug it in, you hit play, and because your headphone is of a low impedance, you bought the 30 ohm version, your headphones literally explode. They explode. Because if you put too much power in a headphone, the drivers will explode. The point I'm making here is they do not make it clear to the consumer, even remotely, what you're getting. You need to see that. And for me, it's infuriating. Because it shouldn't be that hard. Every other headphone I have here, I know exactly what I'm getting. There is only one version of that. There's only one version of that. And I know what the specifications are going to be for it. I know what I'm getting into. I'm not worried about being surprised when I get home when the thing either explodes or sounds like crap. So that's a big problem I have with Beyerdynamic. Their naming conventions and the stupid wire. All right, let's go back to here. So, okay, there's my rant, okay? So let's talk about the headphones themselves. I kind of went over the construction a little bit. They're built kind of funky. They are workhorse headphones, except for the effing cable and the crappy headband. I think they're fairly well constructed. Okay. The sound. So, well, before I get into the sound, really quick. All Beyerdynamics of this range come with this kind of, I guess it's velour. It's like a velour fabric ear cup. And it's not that it's not comfortable. It's just not great. Let's see if I can show this to you. There is a foam in here, but it's not like a... Jeez, this is like really dark. The foam here is really springy. So it's not like it's a memory foam. It's a pretty dense foam, which doesn't lead it to be very comfortable. And the velour makes them pretty warm. So if you wear them for a while, it's in this, your ears might start sweating. That's not comfortable. No one likes that. So that's not great. But in general, it's okay. The sound is a weird one for me. So I have read over and over again about how people feel about Beyerdynamic and this range of their headphones. People freaking love these things, okay? And maybe a bit of a controversial statement, I don't really get it. I don't really like how these sound. I don't really like how most Beyerdynamic stuff sounds. The 990s are supposed to be more of the, you know, neutral, like we talked about before with the 6XXs, very neutral and analytical. These don't sound particularly neutral to me, but they do definitely sound kind of flat. And I don't mean like a flat and even frequency line. I mean, they just sound flat. They're not interesting at all. They sound pretty boring. It's got a bit of a kick in the low end, but I don't know, man. I don't... They're not very pleasing for me. I think they sound kind of muddy. I think they sound a little bland. And if not for the fact that I got these for free, my boss had these in her office when she left, when she quit her job, and they were up for grabs, so I got them. If not for them having just been there for me to get, yeah, free's cool. You can't argue with free. But if not for them being free, I would not buy these. I don't like them. You know, maybe that's just me. I know a lot of people love these things. I'm not into it. And they're not cheap. They're like $200, something like that. 200, maybe a $300. I don't think they're worth it. I really don't. I think there's a lot more, not just fun, interesting sounding headphones in the marketplace where these stand, but also much more headphones that are much better at the detail retrieval and the analytical nature of them, and just better. There are better headphones in this range, in this market range. So I just don't really get it. They do look kind of nice. They would look a hell of a lot better if I could do a better freaking cable. But I don't know. I'm just not really into it. And it's not just, like I said, it's not just these. It's kind of Beyerdynamic in general. There are exceptions. There are some Beyerdynamics that I like a lot. And next stream, you might just get a glimpse of that. But these ones here are pretty meh. I don't know if I could recommend them. for if you're a gamer, if you're just into music, or if you're a professional. I don't think I can recommend them. And in terms of consumer friendliness, Beyerdynamic has a lot of work to do. I find it unacceptable. The naming conventions is confusing and is just waiting for someone to have a bad experience. And the choice of the build construction for all these headphones is asinine. Why would you bother putting all your money into this engineering for these and then cheap out on this? It's so dumb. For me, really, honestly, this is maybe a little dramatic. If this attached cable business is like a deal breaker for me. Like, really. I'm not going to go and buy a headphone more than, 20, 30 bucks if I have to worry about the cable being the breaking point. Not going to happen. I sound so upset right now. It's dumb, man. And they're a huge company. They're huge. They're one of the biggest in the world. They don't have to do this. They're bigger than Bose, man. They have the money. If these little tiny, hell, even these little like tiny Chinese manufacturers that make like one headphone, that's all they make, are able to afford a socket to make it so that they can have a detachable headphone, why can't Beyer do it? There's no reason. There's no reason other than they're just being cheap. So. Headphone harassment. Maybe I should make a graphic for that. You've had a few headphones stop working because of the wire breaking. Yeah. Imagine if you spent a lot of money on those headphones. And Beyer's not the only one that does this. There are headphones out there that are thousands of dollars with a permanently attached cable. So imagine that. You splurged and bought this amazing, like, crazy expensive headphone, and you leave it out on your desk in your office at home, and your cat goes in there and chews on the wire. That headphone is done. It's that easy, man. It's that easy. And the only thing they had to do to prevent something like that from happening is make it detachable. So that's what I have to say about that. Transition. Okay.